Welcome back to yet another video of the grade 12 geography cap series. I'd like to thank you for tuning in. If you're new to this channel, I'm Andrew Commander, and I try as much as I can to make geography as simple as possible. So first of all, we have great news, guys. We've reached 2,000 subscribers. I'm so happy. We are growing at a fast pace, and that simply means that most students are benefiting from this channel. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for the likes, the subscriptions. Thank you for the comments, guys. It means a lot and it really keeps us going. So without wasting any time, guys, let's get into it. So as you can see, we will be covering river grading, river rejuvenation, right, and the resultant landforms. We'll be also looking at river capture and the difference between antecedent and superimposed drainage patterns. Right, so going back to the CAPS document, I'm just going to zoom in there. So far we have covered river profiles, identification and description of fluvial landforms. So we have done all of that. So if you haven't watched those videos, please do. They should be in the geomorphology playlist, right? So this implies that we will be covering, as I've illustrated, river grading, the rejuvenation of rivers. We'll explain why do rivers get rejuvenated, and look at the resultant landforms such as your nick point, terraces, and incised meanders. We'll also take a look at river capture, right, which is your stream piracy, breaking down the concept of obstruction, and as well as looking at the features associated with river capture, such as your captured stream, misfit stream, elbow of capture, and wind gap. And lastly, we'll take a look at superimposed and antecedent drainage patterns. Now, this means that the next video will be on the catchment and river management, and that should be just one video, okay? And then we'll take a look at the topics, the paper 2 topics. And yes, that's what we're gonna do, and I don't want to waste any more time, guys. Let's get into the content. Right, so we start off with river grading. So river grading, it simply means the balance, okay? Sometimes they say the equilibrium, balance, same thing. So this is when the speed or the rate of erosion, okay, remember erosion, we are removing materials, right? Okay, after you weather a material, you weaken a rock, you then remove the material. So that is what erosion is. So it's the removal of materials. So we're saying that this is the balance between the speed or the rate of erosion and the rate of deposition. Okay, remember deposition, this is the dumping of those materials that were removed, right? And it occurs on the lower course, as we discussed in the previous video. Now this means that river grading is simply the relationship between how fast erosion occurs and how fast deposition occurs, right? So it's the balance between the rate of erosion and the rate of deposition. So when it comes to definitions, guys, you cannot miss this, okay? Simply the balance between the rate of erosion and the rate of deposition, nothing more, right? Now we note that sometimes erosion is indeed equal to deposition. So how much we remove in the upper course is exactly how much we deposit in the lower course, right? But that's not always the case, because maybe you might have more erosion occurring and lower deposition. So that means that there's no balance. This balance has an effect on the longitudinal profile of the river now, okay? Remember the longitudinal profile, we said that is the side view of the river from the source, right, to the mouth. Okay, that's the longitudinal profile, different from the transverse profile, which is a view from bank to bank. So now when you have the rate of erosion equaling the rate of deposition, the river develops this profile that we see here, this smooth concave profile, okay? So this profile, as you can see, it is steep in the upper course, and then it becomes gentle, right, in the lower course. So that is what we call a smooth concave profile. We say that it is graded, okay? It is a graded river, or it is a river that illustrates a graded profile, okay? So simply, a graded profile is one that is smooth concave. Okay, steep in the upper course and then gentle in the lower course as you move. So it forms that smooth concave profile. So that is a graded profile, because sometimes they are going to show you, let's say maybe two profiles, and they ask you which one is graded. So that's how you'd identify the graded profile. It should be smooth concave like that. So that is smooth, right? Steep there at the upper course, and then becoming more gentler as you move towards the lower course, right? Okay, so all this means is that whatever that is being removed here, and the speed at which it is being removed, it gets deposited there, over there, right? So if I'm going to remove any material here, it should be deposited, right? Okay, should be deposited. So I should see more deposition right over there. Okay, well, not more deposition, but again, that's the balance. Whatever that I've removed here via erosion, it is going to be deposited over there, right? Over there. So still I'm maintaining, that's how I maintain that smooth concave profile. Erosion at the upper course is equal to deposition here at the lower course. So in that way, the smooth concave profile is preserved like that. So it's simple like that, guys. If I have the rate of erosion equaling the rate of deposition, then I am going to develop this profile. So again, if the rate of erosion is equal to the rate of deposition, then you're always going to have a graded profile, a smooth concave profile. Okay, and then contrary to that, which is whenever there's no balance, okay, maybe there's more erosion than deposition, right? And so if that's the case, then that means that I'm going to erode more or erode less, then deposit more or less. This relationship then results in this profile that you see that is not smooth. Okay, it is not smooth concave. So if I were to draw a smooth concave profile right under that, so it would be something like that. Okay, something like that. So that would be a smooth concave profile, right? But this is not a smooth concave profile. It has these sharp changes in the gradient along the river profile. So as you can see, these are sort of like obstructions that prevent the river profile from being smooth concave. Okay, so instead of just being smooth concave like that, it has these obstructions there, okay, which are your sharp changes, and those actually have a term, and we call them nick points. So we call those nick points. These are the sharp changes or structures that result in a sharp change in the gradient along the river profile. So nick points could be, for an example, a waterfall, could be a rapid, could be a dam wall, right? Any structure that presents a sharp change in the gradient of the river profile. So as you can see there, so again, so that could be a waterfall, for an example, or these could be rapids. We did take a look at those in the previous video. So if you haven't again watched that, please do. So we then say that this is an ungraded profile. Any profile or river profile that has these nick points here, we call it ungraded, right? It is not smooth concave. It's the opposite of the graded profile. It has those sharp changes, those nick points, right? Again, it could be waterfall, rapids, or dams. So it's simple to differentiate a graded profile from an ungraded profile, right? I hope you can see that. Okay, so again, in the graded profile, this can only happen if there's no balance between the rate of erosion and the rate of deposition, right? Now we know that a river empties out into the sea. Okay, now the sea, we say that it is a permanent base level of erosion. Okay, permanent base level of erosion, this is the lowest level to which a river can erode. Okay, so you can erode on many levels. You can erode there, you can erode in terms of height, right? But the lowest level to which a river can erode, that has to be sea, right? So the sea is the only permanent base level of erosion, guys. They are going to ask you to name a permanent base level of erosion, that's always going to be the C, right? Because that's the lowest level, right, that you can erode. Okay, and then you have temporary base levels of erosion. So these are your obstructions, your nick points. So we call them the temporary base level of erosion. So they are not going to ask you to identify a temporary base level of erosion if you have a graded profile, right? So because a temporary base level of erosion are your nick points. Okay, so whether your nick point is a waterfall or a rapid or a dam, that is your answer. Okay, one of those. It will depend on the question. If you have a nick point that is a rapid, then the temporary base level of erosion is your rapid. Okay, so that's how you simply identify those. Okay, so I hope you guys are with me on this one. The last thing now we are going to look at under river grading is how do you go then from an ungraded profile to a graded profile. How do we make this ungraded profile a graded profile? Now if you think about this here, the only thing that we need to do here is remove. Let's say we remove material here, remove all of this material, and deposit this material. Okay, so we're gonna deposit this material, so it's gonna be deposited somewhere like that, and then we are going to remove it like that. Okay, such that now it's going to give us that smooth concave profile. So we need to up erosion. Okay, there should be more erosion there, and more erosion, of course, that would lead to more dumping. Okay, ensure that we dump all of that material and it doesn't get stuck there in the middle course. We dump all of that material there in the lower course, so that will give you that smooth concave profile. And erosion, so erosion can be downward erosion, it can also be headward erosion. We talked about headward erosion, I think, when we were discussing waterfalls, the formation of waterfalls. So where we said the river erodes going backwards. Okay, so that's how we can erode all of that material going backwards like that. And so we need vertical erosion to remove these, and then we need headward erosion to remove the softer rocks there, as you can see. So we need both types of erosion, and then in the lower course we need more deposition there. So that's how we create that. So that's the idea, guys. Ensure that you include that there should be more erosion, both downward and headward erosion in the upper course. There should be deposition in the lower course. So that's what they are looking for in that process. So we're saying that downwards erosion needs to occur in the upper course, and this also helps to cause a steep slope. Remember, we want a steep slope in the upper course, so in order to do that, we have to remove this material, remove that material, so that you can get that steep slope, right? Okay, so that's downward erosion. And then we also need backwards erosion. Okay, so backwards erosion removes these temporary base levels of erosion. Should be base level of erosion there, or nick points. Okay, so you can say nick points, so like waterfalls, rapids, so on and so on. So you can remove that through headward, that's being a river eroding backwards towards its headwaters, towards the source. Okay, it's removing all of that material, removing this material, going backwards, removing this material. So that's how we do that, to remove this material. And and in the upper course, of course, we want downwards erosion, where we are going to erode going downwards like that. Okay, so now you can see that this is actually becoming more concave. Okay, at headward erosion, and that downward or vertical erosion will help remove all of this material there. And then, of course, this material will be, of course, deposited. So we have to also help increase deposition, so that all of that material that was removed there should be deposited there. Now, we don't need a lot of erosion in the middle course. Okay, we just need lateral erosion, which usually dominates. So meaning which we just want that lateral erosion in the middle course, because a lot of downward erosion will also result in creating more of these nick points that we do not want. So in the middle course, all we need is that lateral erosion, right? So downwards erosion to make the upper course steeper, backwards erosion to remove the nick points, and then of course the rapids and waterfalls are also removed by downwards erosion. And then we need lateral erosion in the middle course, right? So it results in a gentler slope, the lateral erosion. We don't want more vertical erosion in the middle course. It will create these, as I illustrated them, those nick points, which we don't want. And then we need deposition. Okay, so deposition should occur in the lower course because, well, the slope is gradual. So it will help to create that gradual slope in the lower course if deposition occurs or increases. Okay, and therefore there's steep slope in the upper course, and then there's a gradual slope in the lower course. That's what we needed. This results in that concave shape. Okay, so step by step, guys, upper course, vertical erosion and headward erosion removes those nick points. Middle course, we need lateral erosion to ensure that we have a much more gradual slope. And then in the lower course, we need to increase deposition there so that there's a gradual slope there as well. Okay, so that we see that concave shape. So that's how we've turned that ungraded profile to a graded profile. So I hope that was helpful, guys. That's all there is to river grading. Can you believe it? Okay. Now let's get into another topic. So that is, we've covered river grading. Now we'll get into river rejuvenation. All right. So of course we'll start off with the definition, look at the causes of river rejuvenation as well as the resultant landforms and their importance to the economy, to the environment, and so on and so on. So when a river is rejuvenated, it simply means that a river has gained energy. Okay. It has more power now. It is running with a higher speed, with a higher volume, right? So we find a lot more water that is flowing in the river channel. Now the river has a higher erosive power. It can erode more because it is much faster now, and it has a lot more volume. It has a lot more water in its channel, right? And so that is simply being rejuvenated. So whenever you are rejuvenated, that means that you have a higher energy, nothing much. Okay, so that is river rejuvenation. And I need us to understand this part, that when it is rejuvenated, it has a higher erosive power. It tends to erode more. Now, what causes river rejuvenation? Well, there's quite a lot of causes there, but we'll just take a look at 4. If you have any more suggestions, guys, please comment down below. That will definitely help us in preparing for the final exams. First of all, one cause of river rejuvenation is the change in gradient. Okay, sometimes it is written isostatic uplift. So what do we mean here? Okay, so let's say you had a particular river profile like that. Now, due to tectonic forces, this slope is then lifted upwards. Okay, so if it is lifted, then that can only mean one thing, right? So now it will be something like that. Okay, so with this part being the one being lifted up, right? So now you can imagine the gradient has changed. Okay, this is comparatively a bit gentler compared to what it is right now. So it is much more steep. So isostatic uplift results in a much steeper slope. So if you have a steeper slope, what increases? The speed will increase. So the speed increases. So along a steep slope, the river runs faster, right? Compared to a much gentler slope. Okay. So if the speed increases, then that means that its energy has increased. So that is how it is being rejuvenated. It is being rejuvenated through the increase in speed. But you really have to discuss this, guys, when you are describing it. Ensure that you mention that isostatic uplift results in a steeper slope. A steeper slope means that the river speed has increased, and hence it has been rejuvenated or has gained energy. That's how you describe that. And then there's another point, which is the increase in rainfall. Okay, so let's say maybe the local climate has changed. Now it is much more wetter. If it is much more wetter, let's say it rains like most of the time, and so this means that this speaks to the volume of the water. The volume of the water will increase, right? So now we've increased the volume of the water, okay, because more water particles enter the river channel, and hence there's a lot of water that flows in that river channel than before. And so now it has more energy, it has more momentum, and that's how it has gained its energy. So it's pretty simple explanation there, the increase in rainfall. You have to mention that the volume of the water within the river channel increase, and hence it has rejuvenated in that way. The third point is river capture. So river capture, now this is when one river, usually an energetic river, steals the water from another river. Okay, so let's say you had this particular river here. Let's say this is river A, it's flowing south, and then you have this river B, which is flowing west, right? And in between them, let's say there's it's usually a watershed between them. Remember, watershed, it separates two drainage basins. Okay, remember, this is one drainage basin and that is another drainage basin. Okay, they are separated by a watershed. And so this river B, it will start on cutting towards, okay, I know it is flowing towards the west, but remember we talked about headward erosion. So it will start to erode towards its source. So it will erode going that way. Okay, eroding towards its source and opening there a channel, right? It's going to open a channel as it is flowing or eroding that watershed until it goes through it, right? So it goes through the watershed via headward erosion and until it intercepts the waters of A. So now A will no longer flow going south. It will make a sharp change in direction there, so it will join. So the waters of A will now flow towards B, such that now this area will be dry. Okay, so it will no longer be connected to that particular area over there, and we'll talk about all of these concepts when we're doing river capture. So now it has stolen the river A, it has stolen the water of river A, and the water is now joined to B. So now B has more water, right? Because it has more water, that means that it has increased its volume. So its volume of water is increased, and hence its energy has increased. That's how it got rejuvenated via river capture. Stealing the waters from another river increases its volume, and hence its power, its erosive power. That's how it is being rejuvenated via river capture. And then the last point is the decrease in sediment load. Right, so what do we mean by that? Well, along a river you have a lot of sediments there. Okay, particularly like in the lower course, get a lot of sediments. Talked about braided streams and sort of all of those. But can you imagine if we would just remove all of these sediments? Okay, so what would happen if you would take all of those sediments, remove them? How would the river flow? What would change? Well, the speed will increase. Okay, remember these are sediments. These are sort of obstructions in the way, and they are sort of slowing down the river. And if you take all of these sediments away from the river channel, of course the river will flow faster. So the speed will increase because there's no more obstructions that's slowing down the river. Okay, so the speed will increase, and hence now the river has more energy than before. It is being rejuvenated. So those are the causes of river rejuvenation. And again, guys, if you have any more causes, please comment down below. Now, what happens after river rejuvenation? So these are some of the landforms that are formed as a result of a river being rejuvenated, and we'll take a look at them and how they form as well as their impact. Right, so we'll start off then with river terraces. Okay, so terraces, that means steps. Okay, so as you can see, guys, this is a river channel. A river flows, let's say it flows over there, or maybe it flows right over here at the bottom. So now you have developed these steps, all of these steps along this river bed. How does that occur? How do you form that? That is a result of river rejuvenation. I'm just going to make an illustration there, right on this block, which will help show you how we form river terraces. Right, so now let's imagine we have a river here along this riverbed. Okay, it's flowing, maybe flowing towards us. Remember, this is what, guys, what type of profile is this? We call this a transverse profile, right? That's a transverse profile, the view of a river from bank to bank. So let's say this is a river and it's flowing towards us or away from us, and then say now it gets rejuvenated. Okay, so when it is rejuvenated, now remember what I said in the beginning. So whenever a river gets rejuvenated, its erosive power increases, and it particularly erodes going downwards. It digs, or it vertically erodes the riverbed. This means that, okay, if this is rejuvenated, this river, then it will tend to do what? To dig downwards. It will dig, and dig. Okay, so it will remove all of this material over here, right? So removing all of that material downwards, right? Okay, so now it's flowing at a much lower height, and then it gets rejuvenated again. Okay, so if it gets rejuvenated again, it will flow, it will form, it will erode downwards. Okay, so that means that it's going to erode this piece right here downwards. So it will remove all of this material going down like that. Okay, all of this material like that. Okay, maybe this is not a good illustration, but I hope you can see this, guys. Okay, with more, whenever it becomes rejuvenated, it's going to erode downwards like that again. Remove all of that material. So now you form these stairs, as you can see. So now these are the stairs that you have formed, right? Form these stairs. These are the stairs, right? So that's how it occurs. Whenever a river is being rejuvenated, it becomes more erosive and it erodes going downwards. It opens a new, or it develops a new flat plane. So if you can also look at this, this was the first river bed. So this was the first river bed, and you had water running there, right? Running along there, and then the river got rejuvenated and it began to erode going downwards. It eroded going downwards, and then you opened a new, or formed a new river bed. Okay, so this new river bed has new flat plane. So this is the new flat plane now. Okay, this was the old flat plane. This is the new flat plane. Now the river is flowing along here, right? That is the old flat plane. It used to be like that, but due to river rejuvenation and hence downward erosion, you formed a new flat plane. So this is the new flat plane, and that is the old flat plane. Okay, so it goes on and on and on like that. So how do you write it down then? When a river becomes rejuvenated, it becomes more erosive. I think that's important to note. And then it then cuts into the valley floor, right? So it will cut into the valley floor, and the down cutting will form a new flat plane. So as I've illustrated, this new flat plane was your riverbed for the old flat plane. Okay, but now due to river rejuvenation, you have a new flat plane, right? So on and so on. So again, more cutting, more river rejuvenation results to more cutting, and hence a development of a new flat plane again. right? So now the new and old floodplains, they create steps which are called terraces, and that's how you describe how it forms. Now this has implications on the economy of the country, what can be done and what cannot be done. So whenever you have river terraces, now you can imagine these can become really steep. You think about now, is it possible for us to construct, let's say, a railway or a road? Okay, now due to the steepness of these, it makes it difficult for that to occur. So for an example, to live, how would you live here? Okay, settle, have your house there somewhere. How would you get water? So it would be really risky and very dangerous, and so it's very difficult to live or settle here. Even if you are a farmer, these are too steep for you to practice farming. So farming would also be a difficult activity to practice. So we're saying that steepness makes it difficult to live or settle here. And then the complex terrain, so when we talk about terrain, we're talking about the shape of the slopes, the shape of the rocks, so on and so on. You can tell the shape is quite complex here, and so it would make it very costly to construct roads, railways, so on and so on. There's also deeper valleys that are limiting farming. So again, we talked about farming. Again, it would be very difficult to practice farming in this landform. Then the second landform we are to discuss is the incised meander. I try to draw here. I hope you can see this. This is a meander, right? You can tell. Okay. Oh, by the way, the river terrace is also called valley in a valley. So this is one valley. Now you've opened another valley in that one valley, and opened another valley in that other valley. So these are like valleys in valleys, right? So the incised meander, also called the entrenched meander. So it's a meandering river, guys. Nothing much, but it's a deep meandering river. So you can tell that, oh, it is very steep. So if I were to be this guy over here, I would realize that, okay, the jump is way too deep. Okay, this develops due to river rejuvenation. And what about river rejuvenation? Again, guys, we talked about this. We said it has a higher erosive power, and that erosive power, it uses it to erode going downwards. So at some point in the beginning, you had a normal shallow meandering river, and then due to the continuous downward erosion, vertical erosion, you've developed these deep valleys. This shows you how much power a rejuvenated river has. Going downwards, it can erode a lot of material. So a lot of material has been removed there, and that's why you can see that, okay, now the river is there at the bottom. So this is the incised meander. So we're saying that when you have a meandering river, and this meandering river becomes rejuvenated, it erodes more vertically, resulting in deep valleys, and hence forming an incised meander. Not very difficult to explain its formation. Then you have the nick point. Now we talked about nick points again, guys. These are like your obstructions or structures that cause a sharp change in the river profile. So for an example, that's the nick point, that's a nick point, that's a nick point. You can tell that these are the sharp changes in the gradient of the river profile. So how do nick points form? Well, let's say you once had, so for an example, you once had, let's say, a profile that was going on like that. Okay, that was the profile that you had at first. And then what happened? There was a river got rejuvenated, and then this material was removed. Okay, so you can imagine removing a lot of material, removing a lot of material, and then removing a lot of material over there like that, and then removing through downward erosion, vertical erosion. So of course, if you remove those material, you will leave these sharp changes. Maybe let's say these are your harder layers, okay, like that. So this forms when a river becomes rejuvenated and this erosive power increases. Vertical erosion creates these sharp changes. So if you have that vertical erosion, it will create indeed these sharp changes in the gradient along the profile, which are called your nick points. Right, so that's how that occurs, guys. Nothing much. These are the resultant landforms of river rejuvenation, and their formations as well And so I hope you do have a better understanding of these now. Okay. Now they're important in tourist attraction. So tourists would come in the country just to observe this beauty, these landforms that look really amazing. And so that is good for the economy. It will boost the economy. The tourist industry will grow. With this could help us in power generation. So this is specifically for the nick points. So the nick points, of course, will result in waterfalls. Okay, so now the water will now flow over this nick point, and so of course that is a waterfall, right? So waterfall, we can convert that energy that is produced by the water, convert it into electricity. So hydroelectricity, this is particularly for the nick point. So that would really help, of course, generate power. Okay, maybe you can use that power and sell that power. So economically, that is very beneficial. Recreation. Okay, so these are beautiful. So these are areas where people can go and relax and have fun. So that has a positive social impact. You talk about biodiversity, right? So these are quite special places. So now you're going to find out that some species are residing in such areas. So now you have a lot of different types of species in one single area, and that is an increase in biodiversity. So these areas create a special environment in which you get to invite more animals and plants developing in such areas. Okay, so that is good for the physical environment. Okay, so that was a river rejuvenation, guys, and that's all there is to it. If there's any questions that you have, again, please go to the comment section. I will definitely answer you. And then we have stream piracy or river capture. Okay, so those terms are interchangeable. You can use them interchangeably. Right, so we'll start off with obstruction. So what does obstruction mean? Obstruction, this is the process where there is when there is a shift in the position and the height of a watershed as a result of headward erosion, or we can say the result as a result of a rejuvenated river. So remember again, the watershed, guys, that's the boundary or the high-lying area between two drainage basins. So let's say this is river A, and it is from its own drainage basin, and river B here is on another drainage basin, and hence that would make this high-lying area here a watershed. Now let's say that river A, okay, so let's say river A is flowing towards the west. Okay, so it's flowing that direction. Okay, so meaning which its mouth is somewhere there, right? Okay, it's flowing this side. But now it gains energy, right? So it could be a change in gradient, an increase in rainfall, so on and so on. One of the causes of river rejuvenation. Now, river A will have a higher energy and will hence have a higher erosive power. So now river A will start to erode the watershed via headward erosion. Remember headward erosion, where the river is flowing in that direction, but it is eroding, going that direction. Okay, it will keep on eroding this watershed, right? Now the watershed will change its position. How? Well, it will first erode this watershed such that now this watershed, the material is removed this side, right? Okay, and this also goes hand in hand with the height of the watershed. So now the height of the watershed also drops, as well as the position of the watershed. So the watershed is now moving towards the right. Okay, so it will keep on eroding this watershed, keep on eroding this watershed. As you can see, it's becoming lower in terms of the height, and it is shifting towards the right, right? Until it becomes very gentle or completely flat like that. And then river A steals the waters of river B. But the most important thing here is that during obstruction, there's a shift in the position of the watershed. So it was once here, now it is there, now it is here. Okay, so the it is shifting in terms of the position, and also its height is reducing. Okay, so its height, as you can see, it keeps on going down, right? So that is exactly what obstruction is, nothing more. So we talk of obstruction a lot under river capture, and so it's very important that you understand how the process occurs before we get into river capture itself. Now let's take a look at river capture. So by definition, river capture, this is when a more energetic river steals the water from another river, which is usually less energetic. So you have one river stealing water from another river, okay, but the river that is stealing the water from another river usually has a higher energy. And then there are causes of river capture. Okay, so one cause is the resistance of the underlying rock. Well, that is like a vague description there. Let's say you have a watershed, and this watershed, it has this hard layer. Okay, there's a hard layer on the right hand side and a softer rock on the on this side. So let's say this is river A and this is river B. Now I think you all agree with me when I say river B, it would be much more easier for river B to erode this watershed, right? Because it is on the side of the less resistant rock. Okay, that is less resistant, right? And so now this means that it will be able to erode this rock easily. So this means that this rock will now be eroded like that, okay, until at some point river B joins with river A. So it's much more easier to steal the water of another river if on your side you have a less resistant rock, right? And then the second cause of river capture is the gradient. Well, so if you have a much steeper gradient on the more energetic river, okay, let's say something like this. So let's say this is the more energetic river, river A, and that is the less energetic river, which is river B. So it's pretty much easier to capture a river along the steeper side. Okay, so along the steeper side you are going to dig like that. Okay, so if you dig like that, all of this material right on top of it will fall, right? It will be able to fall like that. So it's much easier to dig or remove or erode on the much steeper side compared to the much gentler side as you have in river B. Okay, so that is steeper gradient on the more energetic river is much more convenient, or makes things easier for it to be able to erode and hence meet with the waters or steal the waters of river B. It needs that access to join with river B, so a steeper gradient will be much better for it. And then volume of water, a higher volume of water. Okay, if river A has a higher volume of water, it means that it's going to have more energy and hence more erosive power. It will be easier to erode the watershed through to the river that you are going to steal. So a higher volume of water, it gives it more power to erode and hence easier to access or get through to the other side to steal the waters of another river. Okay, so higher volume of water there is another cause of river capture. And then you have another point of rainfall, so higher rainfall. Okay, so if it is raining a lot on the side of river A, again river A there, so if it is raining a lot, of course this means that the volume of water will increase on this river, and this will help push towards the watershed and help get rid of that material, erode until you get to the other side over there. Okay, so those are some of the causes of a river capture. Again, if you have any more to add, please do, guys. Okay, right, so we're just gonna illustrate how this occurs again. I know that I've done so. Oh yeah, I think I did illustrate it, but I'm just going to do that again and highlight some of the features that are associated with river capture. So right here we have river A, and then you have river B, right? River A has its drainage basin, river B is on its drainage basin as well, and they are separated by what? The watershed. So this is the watershed. So now what will happen? Okay, so river A, where is river A flowing and where is river B flowing towards? So those are some of the map skills that you also have to know. What you can clearly see here is that the tributaries, look at the tributaries, the confluences. Okay, so this is a confluence. Remember the confluence, this is where tributaries join. Okay, two or more tributaries join, the confluence, right? Okay, now the confluence will always form a boomerang like or a V shape like that. Okay, it's always going to form that V shape, the confluence, and where that V shape points towards, that is where the river is flowing. Okay, so tributaries meet. Okay, so for an example, this tributary met this tributary here, and so this means that the water is flowing towards the west, guys. Okay, so the confluences, they tell you the direction of the flow of the river. Okay, so these are meeting over here, and so they make that V shape, which is pointing. It's the pointy part there is pointing towards the west. Okay, so that's pretty easy way to detect, especially if you have this dendritic pattern. Okay, so this means that river A therefore is flowing towards the west, right? And then river B, okay, look at those V's again. River B, look at those V's. So again, they are pointing where? The pointy part of the V is pointing down, right? So therefore river B is flowing southwards, right? Then now river A, let's say river A gets rejuvenated. Okay, so now river A gains energy through rainfall, through many more reasons, as we saw there. So it gains energy, so it becomes rejuvenated. So this means that river A will now have a higher erosive power and will erode going towards its source. It will erode backwards like that, opening channel, expanding its channel, increasing its length, going backwards. It is flowing towards the west, right? But it is eroding towards the east. So now this means that, okay, this will erode going that way, erode going that way towards its source. And while it is eroding, of course, it is removing there. So it will remove this material, remove this material, remove that material, and remove, continuously erode going that direction, continuously erode. So this is headward erosion, guys. Very important. They like to ask what type of erosion is associated with river capture. It's headward erosion. So it will continue to erode. Remember, erode, this means removing material there. Erode, 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 erode that watershed. Okay, that watershed will experience obstruction. Okay, it will shift in position and it will decrease in terms of height. So moving backwards until it accesses, breaks into the channel of that other channel. There we go. Boom. So now you have the water of river B. Now river B was flowing southwards, right? Now river B will make a sharp left. River B will now change direction and move towards join river A. So river A has stolen the water of river B, because now what will happen is that now water is flowing that direction, right, instead of flowing down. And so this means that this part will not have any supply of water. Okay, the other part that was joined to it, so it will sort of be separated like that, and there will be a gap here, a gap of dry land. Okay, because there's no water that is joining. So because this lower part has been disconnected from that upper part, so it will develop this dry land over there, as you can see. So now the water is now flowing the other way, right? So it is stolen by river A. So now you can tell that river capture has already occurred here, and you have to be able to identify the features that occur after a river capture has occurred. Now this is a river that has stolen the waters of another river. We call that river a capture stream. So that's the capture stream, is the river that has stolen the water of another river, or captured its waters. So this is the capture stream. River A is the capture stream, and then this river, this is the part of the river B that was stolen, right? So that part is the captured stream, right? So that's the captured stream. And then you have this area right here where the stealing occurred. So this area right here that looks like a sharp curve, okay, it looks like an elbow, right? And it is an elbow, so it's called an elbow of capture. This is where the turn, okay, so the sharp curve where now the water is redirected towards the capture stream. So call it the elbow of capture. Now this part that is dry, okay, remember we said this was connected. Remember these rivers were connected like that, but we no longer see that. A dry area developed there in between them. So this dry area over here, we call that the wind gap. Wind gap, because there's wind erosion that occurs here. Now there's no more water, we see wind erosion. If you know the capture stream, be able to identify the capture stream, the wind gap, the elbow of capture, the captured stream, and then the last part, which is the rest of the river that was disconnected from the river that was stolen, or from the part of the river that was stolen. So this part now no longer receives the supply from that part of the river, the captured stream. So this is what we call the misfit stream. Okay, so this is the part of the river that is no longer connected to the captured stream. So it's called the misfit stream. Now misfit stream has way less more water, a lower volume of water flowing in there. So these are the features that are associated with river capture. So if we go again to our caps, okay, we had to look at capture stream, captured stream, misfit stream, elbow of capture, and wind gap. So we are going to discuss the implications. What does it mean for the people that are living in these areas? So what does it mean for the people who are living along or in this drainage basin, which is River A? Compare those people to those who are living along the misfit stream. Okay, so we have to talk about that. So what does it mean for these communities? Okay, right. So first of all, River A has stolen. Okay, so River A, which is the capture stream, has stolen water, right? So if it has stolen water, that means now it's gonna have a lot of water in its channel. So the volume of water in River A will increase, okay, because now it is joined with another stream which pours water into its river channel, right? So now the volume of water will increase, so there's going to be a lot more water that is running in the river channel, and of course it will be rejuvenated. Okay, so it will gain energy, it will erode more, and hence we have vertical erosion increases. So it will be able to erode more because it is rejuvenated. It has more volume of water in its channel, and hence is able to erode more power to erode. And then River B, okay, so River B right over here, what will happen? So particularly the misfit. So now the misfit stream, its volume of water will decrease. This was its riverbed, okay, its transverse profile, but now there's this much water that is flowing there. There used to be this much water that was flowing, but now because of the river capture, you have less volume of water flowing along that river channel. Okay, so the stream is small for the channel, as I have just illustrated. So the stream does not really fit its capacity, the capacity of the river channel. And then water erosion is now replaced by wind erosion, because you do not have a lot of water. These parts or rocks that are along the river channel will be eroded by wind, okay, because there's not a lot of water. Okay, so changing from water as being the agent of erosion to wind, right? So that's what we'll see there. And then what does it mean then for the people there? So we are comparing the capture stream, so the community that is residing or living in this area, and then comparing that with the community that you'll find near the misfit stream. So what does it mean for them? Well, for the capture stream areas, that is people who are living in the capture stream, who are living next to the capture stream, because the capture stream has a lot of volume of water, its volume has increased, right? So this means that agricultural production will increase, okay? Because now the input, remember, you have to have water. If water is not enough, then you do not produce enough. So if you have more than enough water, then that means that you can actually increase your yield, how much you can produce in a particular season or year. So we're going to see an increase in agricultural production due to the increase in water. But on the misfit stream, because there's a decrease in the volume of water, well, we'll also see a decrease in agricultural production, okay? So water is such an important input in an agricultural enterprise. This side will see less irrigation, okay? So no more having to pay water that is charged by the municipality to your house. So there's less irrigation. Here we do not pay for water. We have water that is running right next to our houses, and it's a lot of water. So no more irrigation, no more paying. Whereas the misfit stream, well, they have to pay for water to keep up with what they have been producing. So if I'm a farmer there and I've been producing like a particular number of fruit per year, so in order to keep on doing that, because now I no longer have water, I have to install irrigation there and pay. So on my side, it's not really good in terms of the financials. So I'm going to struggle financially due to the irrigation system that I have to install. So we also see that this increase in production that we see in the capture stream, along the capture stream, might lead to an increase in manufacturing. We did talk about, if you watched my videos on economic geography, we did talk about industries and the value chain, and how you go from primary to secondary, so on and so on. So if I have a lot of farmers here producing a lot of, let's say, a lot of apples, so I can go ahead and open a manufacturing company there that will produce, let's say, apple juice or whatsoever, right? So open there, I'm opening a company that is producing that. So this means that manufacturing increases the employment of people. That's another point there, the employment of people. So people will be employed there. A lot of people will be employed because manufacturing companies will open, because they see a lot of primary products there, or primary sector products. So over this side, the factories will close. If there were any factories, they will close, okay, because there's no longer water, and there's no longer, they do not have that raw material that they can process to produce, to maintain the business there, right? So factories will close due to the lack of water. Factories use a lot of water, so if there's not a lot of water, then a factory or a business cannot be sustainable. There's increase in water, so this increase in water might lead to flooding, right? So if a channel has a lot of water such that it actually spills, okay, it will definitely spill over its banks, and so this will cause a lot of flooding. So flooding is, the disadvantage for the people that are living in the along the capture stream. So this might cause flooding, a lot of flooding actually, and people could relocate because of that, okay? This side, well, the settlement might become a ghost town, right? This side, the misfit stream, because there's no jobs, factories have closed, and so why would we still be here? We are going to where there are jobs, and that's usually in urban areas. And so if we do not create these opportunities, we do not create employment opportunities for our people, then they are going to get into crime, they are going to migrate into areas that seem promising in terms of job opportunities. This might lead to a ghost town developing where there are no people at all. People have abandoned their homes. Right, this side there's going to be an increase in water sports, so it's good for the economy of River A, right? So a lot of sports there will be hosted, and the municipality will indeed be funded by those competitions, okay, and therefore be able to serve services for their communities. This side there's going to be the decrease in water sports. If it was known for a lot of water sports there, then it's no longer going to be, because, well, there's not going to be enough water for us to participate or host water sports. These guys, this is a mixture of social, economic, physical, or environmental impacts. Okay, so for an example, increase in agricultural production, that could be a social impact, right? The less irrigation, that is a financial impact. Well, yeah, financial impact. And so that's social, that's financial. The increase in production leading to manufacturing, that is a social and economic, right? So increase in water flooding, that is a social. It could also be economic if you link it to the factories that will close due to flooding. Increase in water sports, social, economic. The habitat will be destroyed, okay? Will be disturbed because of the flooding, right? So of course this is an environmental impact, and so this should have been F right over there. Increase in water will cause an increase in fish, okay? So this is an environmental. This is also a social impact, so because people will indeed benefit from that. There's going to be a diversity of ecosystems, webs of populations, and so there's going to be a lot of them because now water is there, and the vegetation will increase, plants will thrive, and you will have therefore a lot of animals that are invited there. So but on this side there's going to be land degradation due to soil erosion by the wind, because there's no longer water, right? And so that is an environmental impact over there. And there's decrease in fishing for source of food. Yep, social and environmental. Biodiversity is destroyed, environmental, okay, because there's no longer water, right? That affects the whole food chain. That is river capture or stream piracy, and that's all there is to that. And then we head on to antecedent and superimposed patterns. So the antecedent drainage pattern. Here, the river is older than the landform that it cuts, or that it passes across or passes along. So the river is older. Okay, so okay, your aunt is usually an older person, right? So of course, river is older, and okay, so maybe that might help to remember. I don't know. So the river is older than the landform it cuts. What do we mean? So that means the landform is young. How can that be possible? Well, we say that land is new. Okay, let's say you have this particular piece of land, and then due to tectonic shift or isostatic uplift, now you have formed this land. Now this hill was not there before, but it is here now. Okay, and so this means that this is new land, right? This is new, guys. It was not there before, but it is here now, right? So new land, we categorize that as land that was brought up due to tectonic uplift. Okay, so if you had a river there before this tectonic upliftment occurs, so let's say you had a river running on top of that land, you still have a river running on top of that land. Okay, maybe it cuts through there because it is a softer rock, but the most important thing is that the river was there before this tectonic upliftment occurs, right? So this means that the river is older than this new land, right? And so that means this is an antecedent drainage pattern. Simple as that, guys. Tectonic uplift, that's new land. Okay, but if you do not see any tectonic uplift and just see erosion, then you must know that it's superimposed. Well, so what is superimposed drainage pattern? This is the drainage pattern where the river is younger than the structures it cuts. It's younger than the structures it cuts. How does that occur? Okay, so the old land, I don't know why I didn't finish this. So the old land is uncovered by erosion. Okay, what do we mean? What do you mean? So, well, let's say this is the land, and okay, let's say underground. Okay, so underground, these can form a formation. They form layers and layers. Okay, so let's say this was the layer over there, something like that. Okay, right, so this is the layer, right? Now, due to erosion, what happens is that you get to remove a lot of material there. So for an example, due to erosion, like let's say constant erosion, you are going to remove this material, say in between there. Remove all that material, and you expose that land that was already there. Okay, so now you have something that's like, okay, let's say these are hills or something like that. Now the land is lower in terms of because it was eroded, right? So it is now at a lower so it was something like that. Now it is something like that has those hills there, right? So those hills were there before, guys, but it's just that they were not exposed. Okay, so it's not the same as if it's not the same when you compare it to tectonic upliftment. That was not there before, but it is there now. This was there already. If you look at the underlying rock structures, the shape there, it was there already. And so we just had to remove the previous surface. Okay, that was there. Remove that by erosion, and it lowered in terms of height, right? And now these are exposed. So this land was already old, like it's already there. It was there before. So we then say this is old land. Okay, if it is uncovered by erosion. It's new land if it is uncovered, or if it is formed by tectonic. Okay, so uncovered and formed is not the same thing. So uncovered, so by erosion. And so this is old land. It was already there, old land. So whenever you have a river running across this, you cannot say that this river is older than this land. Okay, this land was already there before the river, and it was just uncovered by erosion, and hence now it is exposed. And because now it is exposed, it's still old. It has been there, and so we say this is a superimposed drainage pattern, guys. This river is younger than the structures it cuts. Those structures were there, they were just uncovered by erosion. Over here, the river is older than the landform, because now this is a new landform. This is a new land, and so it is formed because it is formed by tectonic uplift. Okay, so I need you to note those. Here we see erosion, there we see tectonic upliftment. Here the river is younger, here the river is older. Simple. The next video will be on catchment and river management, which is pretty awesome. So I'll see you then in the next one. Please continue subscribing, liking, commenting, sharing. Okay,